is really important to shine a light on fabulous women in tech, very accomplished, all of whom are role models for the next generation.
It's amazing. I'm really grateful for the opportunity, and I'm excited to go and tell people about it and demonstrate to girls that they can do it.
It's first of all really important that we showcase the talent that we've got. We create and highlight role models and basically reward women for doing great things in a sector that traditionally doesn't necessarily have the same level of diversity that maybe it should.
Sometimes gender-specific things can be quite divisive, but in this case I think celebrating the efforts of women in technology and how they've come to the fore is really a positive thing.
It's just such an amazing achievement for myself and for the women in the industry, and I think I'm going to take this back to my organisation and really make a change to encourage more women to come forward.
Everything that I've worked for over the last 2 years has obviously paid off. I went back to university and took a big career change to do the job that I do today, so to know that it's all been worth it is absolutely incredible.
I think I'm going to inspire other women to follow the suit, just become entrepreneurs, try what they believe in, take a leap of faith, and just get started.
It's absolutely incredible to be part of something like this tonight and to win an award amongst so many amazing female entrepreneurs and women in technology. Literally blows me away. I couldn't be more humbled.
Hello everybody, my name is Debbie Assinder and I'd like to welcome you all to the Women in Tech Awards Birmingham Tech event. This is done in association with Tech Nation, West Midlands Growth Company and the Department for International Trade. We'd also like to thank our 2020 sponsors that include NatWest, Copper, Culture Group, BJSS, Side Trade and BMET. And also all of our associated partners as well. So Birmingham Tech Week is proudly supported by the Midlands Women in Tech Awards. I am actually the director of the Midlands of Women in Tech Awards, and our talk today is based around why women are being photoshopped and not hired. This refers really to a rather amusing photo that was taken at a recent tech event pre-COVID, where we had 15 tech titans and 2 women CEO tech people were actually photoshopped into the picture, which I think you can see quite clearly. Obviously, they didn't realise that they can do reverse image searching. So that yet again brought up the whole issue of why are there so few women in tech and why did they feel the need to do this? Today, fewer than 20% of IT roles are filled by women and only 5% of leadership positions. Depressingly, fewer young girls than ever are taking any form of computing qualification at school. Again, we ask why. Today's panel discussion will attempt to look at some of the issues around this. And I'm delighted to introduce 4 women who have and are bucking the trend, and as recipients of the inaugural Midlands Women in Tech Awards are great role models. Before I introduce the first speaker, just a few housekeeping points. The Zoom is kindly organised today by Naeem Harif from NA Consulting Limited. All the cameras and microphones will be disabled apart from those of the speakers. And given the time limitation, could I ask that all questions be typed into the Q&A box and they will be answered at the end of the presentation. If we do run out of time, the speakers have kindly agreed to post answers after the session. We've also got a hashtag that we're using today that you'll see in the right-hand corner, hashtag MWIT21, if you'd like to use this on social media. So I'd like to come now to our first panellist, who is Emily. Emily Lawton won the Rising Star Award at the inaugural Midlands Women in Tech Awards. Emily gave up a lucrative job to go back to university to pursue her love of technology. Despite being frequently told throughout her education and early career that software engineering isn't for girls, Emily proved them wrong, receiving a distinction and a prize for the highest marks across all MSc programs in the University Computing Department. She is now an associate software engineer working with the latest technology in big data, web application development and automated testing. Emily, welcome. And I'd like to ask the first question about what motivated you to go into a tech career.
Yes, thank you very much for that introduction. Yes, so I guess I've always been interested in technology from a very young age. I can remember kind of playing video games when we got our first PC. I can remember annoying my parents by pretty much just trying to take it apart and understand how it worked, breaking it a few times in the process. So the interest's always been there. I guess my first obstacle really came sort of when I was at school and in sixth form, in that despite really rather coincidentally doing subjects at A-level that would have stood me in good stead for a degree in computer science, maths, physics, that kind of thing, I just had literally no information about careers that were out there at all. I didn't know that I could go into the tech sector. I certainly didn't realise that by doing those subjects I would be able to sort of maybe pursue a career in programming as I do today. So I guess that was the first thing really, sort of maybe a missed opportunity in one way, and I think that's something that still exists today. And what you said earlier kind of really rang true with me about the fact that even fewer women or young girls are taking sort of the steps into computer related subjects and things like that. So
obstacles you felt you faced, did you encounter any on the way?
Yes, so I guess after I kind of ended up doing a completely different subject at university, and then the next kind of step in my tech career, I guess, was I moved to a job in Birmingham City University in the New Technology Institute there, and I worked with a really great group of people, and they really kind of inspired me to take the steps and kind of go back to university to study computer science. Again, another obstacle really of kind of being funding. How was I going to fund that degree? And luckily I've got a very supportive family and was able to do that, but it certainly wasn't easy, and it was a very, very big decision for me to make, to quit a job that I was doing quite well in and was quite well paid for, to kind of go back and study something that I really, really wanted to do and that I love. So that was another thing that kind of stood in my way, but thankfully I managed to kind of get past that. And I guess at university was the first time I really started to fully understand the gender imbalance as well in the tech industry. So although my course was quite well split in terms of gender equality, I noticed that there was an awful lot of other courses that were very male dominated. And so when I was looking for a job after completing my course, I went to lots of recruitment fairs. And I kind of made it my mission really to talk to the employers there about what they were doing in terms of women in tech, what were they doing in that space. And the company that I work for now, REPL Group, really stood out in that respect. The recruiters that I spoke to there really had a passion for, supporting women in this area. So although I didn't really come across sort of the male dominated environment in the workplace as such at the moment, I think really my advice to women would be to maybe do a bit of homework on the company that you're looking into. I spoke to a lot of companies who I wasn't really particularly keen to work for because I didn't feel that they were particularly inspiring in terms of what they were doing in the women in tech space. So I think if you can try and avoid putting yourself in those positions, then that's probably the best thing to do, really.
That's great advice. Thanks, Emily. And also, can I ask you, in your opinion, how can we get more young girls interested in tech?
Well, I think it starts kind of from an early age, really. Like I said, my main obstacle, I think, really was at school, and that sort of not knowing really about those careers. And it's something which I'm trying to kind of make a difference with at the moment. So I've been into some schools and done some workshops there about what careers are available to women in tech, and kind of expanding people's horizons as well a little bit, in that, yes, I'm a computer programmer, but not every career in tech has to be that. There's a lot of other things lots of women can bring lots of different skills to a tech career. You don't have to just sort of be a geek like me that sits behind the screen and does a load of coding all day. So it's kind of about making people aware that there's more to a career in tech than just that.
Because one of the things that we wanted to do with the Midlands Women in Tech Awards is obviously set you out as role models and send you out to the schools. So obviously we had that working with the Titan Partnership. So I know I want to thank you for taking part in that and going out to the schools, because it certainly is really important. Thanks ever such a lot for that, Emily. That was absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
You're certainly leading the way, and well done. So if I pass across now to, thank you, to Sonu, who is our second speaker. So Sonu Babu was the recipient of the inaugural Midlands Women in Tech Startup Founder Award, and has recently been named as the Tech Nation Rising Star, and completely hot off the press as well. She has actually just been nominated for the IOD Director Award, so well done, Sonu. Sonu is the co-founder of Shopper.com, which combines crowd power and AI to help thousands of shoppers save money on e-commerce sites. She's currently raised $750,000 in investment and has actually seen her business flourish during COVID due to the increase in online shopping. So Sonu, could I ask you the first question about what motivated you to set up a tech business?
Well, that's a very interesting question, Debbie. Just a little background on myself. I'm a qualified accountant, and before I started my business, I was working with the corporate giants like Citibank and KPMG in financial advisory. I was quite passionate about tech from early on, because here in tech you can start small and can grow exponentially and make a big difference in the lives of people. And that was really the motivation I had, that I wanted to touch the lives of many people in some way. And that's why I chose tech, because I could start humbly in there. And when I took the decision of quitting my corporate career to pursue entrepreneurship, I was actually officially labeled as the dumbest woman, because I was leaving the comfortable job, the 5 days a week format, the hefty salary, and all the respect I had earned in the male-dominated society by then. And I was actually abandoning it all. But I really wanted to pursue tech entrepreneurship and build something unique, touch the lives of many people. And I think the journey of being a tech entrepreneur is more fulfilling to me, because the mistakes I'm making and learning from them, the type of people I meet and the lessons they teach, and completely the horizon that I'm actually looking at is really overwhelming, and it's making me a stronger and better person. So that was the reason why I really wanted to start a tech business.
Can I ask you as well, how we can encourage more women from diverse backgrounds, do you think, into tech?
I think what Emily has spoken about, that we should start early on, is a very important thing, because I grew up in India, and like millions of Indian girls, my conditioning also started from a very young age. I was made to believe that in terms of love and protection, people have families protecting me, but it was really a type of conditioning which meant that I should have self-doubts, or I'm not capable of doing certain things. And that sort of conditioning happens a lot in the Asian communities, I would say. So it's very important. And I think as a society, we are also waiting for young girls to grow up and then overcome all the obstacles, overcome their fears and take all the courageous steps necessary to overcome the obstacles and actually become a different person than what they were actually taught to be. And that is not something I think as a society we are doing the right thing, because we should start quite early on and give the equal opportunities to girls, give them also the confidence that they can build something. It's not just for the men. And second thing I say is that we lack a lot of role models in the tech industry. So awards like Women in Tech Awards are actually a great way where they can shine a spotlight on the great work women are doing, and we can showcase their achievements and give them the much needed stage to be the role models. And that is what I feel will do for fellow young entrepreneurs who would want to become tech entrepreneurs from diverse backgrounds.
Thanks very much, Sonu. That was absolutely spot on. And I'm glad that you found the award ceremonies to be of great value to you as well, because I believe you said that no one had ever heard of you before you got the Startup Award at the Midlands Women in Tech Awards. And then suddenly you were being contacted, and it's obviously been a bit of a platform for you to be able to get some other awards as well, which is wonderful, and have your work recognised. So thanks again, Sonu. So if I can come across now to our third speaker, who's Melissa Snova. Melissa has actually a little bit further along her journey of setting up her business, well, quite a bit further along the journey actually than Sonu, and she actually won our inaugural Innovator Award at the Midlands Women in Tech Awards to add to her many awards. I think she's actually got 10 to date. Melissa's actually been described as a visionary and a trendsetter in the food tech industry. She launched the first 3D printer for sweets and confectionery in the world, and despite the commercial success of this, decided that she wanted to move on further and actually truly impact people's everyday lives with her customable 3D printing vitamin technology. At the Birmingham Tech Week, we should also mention that Melissa, as you will detect, is not a true Brummie, as you will detect from her accent, and yet she says that Birmingham is the best place to set up a tech business. So Melissa, I'd like to hand over to you and ask you why you think Birmingham is so important in the success of your business, and also what advice would you give to other women who want to follow in your footsteps? Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Debbie. Yeah, I'm a massive proponent of Birmingham. I actually came to the United Kingdom to do my MBA, and I went to Lancaster Business School. So I started my UK journey a lot further north. And since then, I've lived in Manchester, I've lived in London, and now I live very, very happily here in Birmingham. And I think that what I mean by what I've been very correctly quoted saying around starting a tech business in Birmingham is kind of three different parts. The first being, we have, in my opinion, the best university network with the closest proximity within the city center of any organization I've seen. In London, of course, you have loads of universities, but there is, I think, a little bit of a disconnect because it's so big, because there's so many people. I feel like the community, the academic community, is a lot better linked in with business and also with the actual people of Birmingham. And we work very closely with the BHP, Birmingham University, Ashton University, pretty much all of them. And it's also really cool for my business, which is really using 3D technology, proprietary algorithmic software coding systems to make medicine and nutritional products using 3D printers. There's 5 universities within 10 miles of my office that have a 3D printing degree program, which again is quite unique anyway, because 3D printing is not maybe new anymore, but it's certainly not as established as a science as a lot of the other programs that you can see. So we are so lucky that when we go to look for new recruits, and we're currently recruiting 5 people a month at the moment, so we're growing very fast. I'm really lucky that I have this amazing, amazing talent set like on my doorstep. The second thing is we're based in Digbeth, and I think Digbeth is the coolest place in the UK for starting a business, not just a tech company, but any company. It's, you know, the capital of startups, I think, for the 5th year in a row. And there's over 1,000 different entities within the 10-mile campus of, you know, the custard factory and then the bits around the outside. And that's everything from, you know, a lady making wedding dresses to, you know, somebody developing, you know, they have the code masters and all sorts of people doing video games across the road from us. And this environment reminds me a lot of Brooklyn or Shoreditch before they got really expensive and sold out. And I would always prefer to be somewhere that has the energy of becoming as opposed to has become. And I love being part of this environment. I really think it's incredible. And we get such great people. We've grown from 4 to 44 people in less than a year. We started the company in May of last year. And so we now have over, today I am welcoming my 45th new person this afternoon.
Wonderful. And what advice would you give to women who might want to follow on? Sorry, what advice would you give to women who want to follow on in your footsteps, Melissa? Because you're doing incredibly well.
Yeah, it's not easy. So don't ever think that it is easy. Entrepreneurship or technology or any field, doesn't really matter, is not easy. So be aware that you have to really love and be passionate about what you're going to do in order to be willing to put the work in and to make it through what is, you know, unavoidably going to be some rough patches on your journey. You know, Emily was talking about, she gave up a great job, went back to uni because she loves it. You have to love it. You know, you really have to love what you do, and you have to believe that what you're doing is for a greater purpose that's worth all of that hard work and that time that you have to commit. But in addition, I would really encourage women to not think of technology as this weird, obscure idea of technology, and coding often gets, you know, assimilated with this is all you can do when you do technology. I agree with Emily. And, you know, yes, I have done coding. Yes, but that is not what I do on a daily basis. I use technology very selfishly to be able to empower my vision of creating solutions. And technology is so vast and so varied. And if you look at it as an incredible tool set, readily available at your fingertips, that you can pretty much learn most of it, at least to a general knowledge level, online. And you can use this to help you progress your dreams and your business goals. Then it becomes like a magic tool chest. And it's not scary, it's incredibly empowering. And I think women should start thinking about it like that, because I think men are more taught to think about it like that. Whereas we're taught to think about it as, you know, this thing over here that you probably shouldn't do, because not very many women do that.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thanks, Melissa. That's really, really inspirational. Thank you so much. And we're so glad you chose Birmingham to set up your tech company and that you found it to be really beneficial to be based in Brum. We're very proud to have you as a sort of Brum. Thanks
a lot. I love it. We won't go anywhere. We're staying here for forever, definitely.
Good news, good news. And if I could now introduce our fourth speaker, and it's Jane Fallon, who's kindly stood in for Pat Crossley-Holland, who unfortunately was unable to make it today. But Jane also works for Methods and is head of digital Midlands at Methods. Methods is a leading digital organisation for the public sector. They also lead the field in recognising the achievements of women in tech, as currently 3 out of 5 of their executive directors are female. Can I ask you, Jane, what Methods has actually done, do you think, to attract so many women into leadership roles? And what needs to be done to support the female tech leaders of the future? That's a big 2 set of questions for you.
It is. So in terms of Methods have 3 fantastic female exec directors. You have Pat Crossley-Smith with Anne and Zoe. And what Methods has done is recognise the skills, experience and value that they bring to the role that they do, which is just everything. And I think that any good organisation is going to understand in the round all the different skills steps and leadership styles that I think make a good leadership team for an organisation. Is it possible to just pop the slides on, please? Thank you. So I've been asked to talk about leadership. That was a question you gave. And if you have a Venn diagram about women in IT and digital and women in leadership and then put them together, you end up with quite a small segment in the middle. And as well as being a leader in digital and IT myself, I really try and mentor quite a few people who are on the beginning of their journey in that space. And one thing I've heard time and time again is that isn't me, because they've had a vision about what a leader is and a very particular type of leader. And I think what can help maybe encourage more women and maybe, you know, just more diverse people across the round is understanding that there are different types of leadership. And particularly if you've got a leadership team, you need a balance of different types of leadership to have a successful and a sustainable organisation. You know, I use what I call the servant leadership style. I see my role as enabling and supporting my team. I believe in empathy. There is what's called wholeheartedness leadership. So there are lots of different things that you can bring to your leadership team to bring balance and help with overall the success and sustainability of your organisation. And don't think you have to fit into one particular type or style of leadership to be successful, because in all honesty, I don't think that's true. Next slide, please. Okay, so I'm a fan of a meme, so please excuse me. I think something else that women maybe have found difficult in the workplace is understanding how to set boundaries, and I think that's really, really important, particularly if you're part of a leadership team. So not just women, but people who may feel slightly more emotions, and I know, and this is me exposing my vulnerability, at the beginning of my career, you know, there were 2 or 3 occasions when I ran off to the toilet to cry, and that's fine. You know, that's just who I am, and that's how I express my emotions. I don't get particularly angry, I don't get stressed, and colleagues have said I can bring a calmness, which is fantastic, but that's how I show my emotions. Never be afraid to call out bad behaviour, particularly I think if you are in an organisation where you might be in a minority as a woman. Really set your boundaries, and this is something I've discussed with Pat. Make them clear, and if necessary on occasion, walk away. So to work out what's acceptable for you, and that goes for everyone, but particularly for women. I also just wanted to touch on, sorry, the next slide. A lot of people have shared their stories, and I don't want to denigrate them in any way because they're very powerful and emotive, of imposter syndrome, which is seen as a problem in you, a problem in the individual, and something you need to work on and overcome. But you know, you pulled up the photoshopping example, and there have been many, many times where I've walked into the meeting of a group of CIOs or CDOs, and I've been the only woman in the room. And maybe people haven't gravitated to talk to me. So what I want to say is, imposter phenomenon is always about changes you need to make in yourself, but sometimes I just think there are things that changes we all need to make in the industry to make everyone feel welcome in whatever organisation they go in, and don't always think it's just on you. It could be, you know, there's more that we can all do to welcome people of colour and younger people or whoever it may be, and to try and create inclusive environments wherever possible. Particularly in leadership, you know, everyone has a seat at the table.
Do you think that networks are very important for women?
Oh, absolutely. And I think they're important for everyone, but, you know, for me, I have a network of people. Tracy Westall, who you know has been an amazing mentor to me, men and women throughout my career. Sadly, because my father was ill, I couldn't come to the Women in Tech Awards last year, and this year we can't have them, but I'm really, really hoping they can happen in person next year, and looking forward to come. Methods is a sponsor, maybe meet some of you, and don't be afraid to approach people, you know, for mentoring and help and support. And sometimes you just need to say, is this right, or what would you have done? And to me, my networks are everything. Obviously I'm mostly working at home at the minute, you know, and I've got my networks of WhatsApp groups, and some of those are experts, some of those are people who'll just send me a kindly funny meme when things are getting me down. So, you know, there's all sorts of things, but please don't be afraid to speak up, and build your network around you of people who are going to help and build you up. Hold a mirror up occasionally when it's needed, but I just think it's so important, and particularly for women in leadership in IT and digital, where we still don't quite have the same seat as the table overall. Methods is one aside, and learn how you can rely and talk to others and be inspired by their leadership styles and the way that they do things.
Well, thanks so much, Jane, and that's a wonderful lead into the launch today of the Midlands Women in Tech Awards for 2021. I'm so glad that you did mention the importance of networking, and that's what really we thought, holding a physical event, that's why it was so important rather than holding a virtual event this year. So we're actually aiming to launch the Women in Tech Awards today, and you'll see behind me that we've actually got there the website. So please go ahead, nominate yourself, because again, this imposter syndrome, we see that quite a few women don't feel that they're good enough to get an award. You certainly are. Please nominate yourself, or please nominate your colleagues or any women that you feel deserves to be recognised. You have to see it to believe it. I really do think that. and seeing is believing. And the thing that comes back time and time again is that we don't see many women in tech. So let's make sure that the women in tech are very, very visible. And that's something that Melissa also flagged up and our other speakers alluded to. So I'd like to thank you all for giving up your time and for being such great role models. I believe that we have got a few questions. So if I could ask Naomi, if you could put the question up for us. The first question, please, I think is for Emily.
Hi, yes. Yeah, thanks for your question, Rachel.
I just read the question out, sorry.
Yeah, go for it,
So,
yeah.
this question's for Emily from Rachel Reed. She said, I also graduated with a degree in computer science back in 2008. Back then, there were only 20 of us women. Do you think there will be a time when there are an equal number of men and women studying tech subjects at uni?
I really, really hope so. And I do think that we will get there. I think there's work to do, as we've all said today. And I think we've also all kind of mentioned the ways that we think we will get there. I also think another important thing about studying at uni in particular is to, encourage women into academic roles there as well, so that there's some academic role models as well as industry role models. And I think that's very important, and to get a kind of balanced teaching team as well. And I do think that we will get there. Like I say, I think it could be a tricky road ahead, but I think there's a lot of people committed to it. We're all here today to talk about the subject, and it's about keeping it visible and at the forefront of people's mind in the industry.
Thanks, Emily. Sorry, we just have to get through them quite quickly because I'm just conscious of time. We've had another question come in, which is probably aimed at anybody who'd like to pick it up, from Elas, I think that is. Do you have any advice for a woman who is currently retraining in programming and looking into career options in tech during the pandemic? That's quite a challenging one.
If there's one thing that I'd like to raise, obviously I now work for Methods, but before that I was a good 20 years in the public sector. And there are some amazing teams in the public sector, as well as with organisations like Methods, who work in the public sector, who are doing critical work to support through the COVID pandemic and are providing some exciting opportunities. So I think when you are looking to make your step into your career, do consider that as well. I know lots of places who are recruiting at the moment, who are looking to welcome a diverse team into place. And I think that's particularly important for public services. We need the people who create those public services, those programmers, to be just as diverse as the public are. I think that's really, really important. So there are jobs out there, and don't give up would be my best advice.
We've also had another question come in for you, Jane. How would you recommend women begin to make steps to move towards a leadership role in this industry?
So again, we sort of mentioned networks. I would start, first of all, reaching out, both within your organisation and outside, trying to find some people that you can admire, to understand and learn a little bit more about their journeys. And then it's understanding what opportunities there might be within your own organisation, and being really honest about your ambitions. And you can do leadership in a really small scale. You can start, a small initiative that's maybe not about the day job and lead that. We've had people lead environmental initiatives or whatever it might be, and you can start leading a group and working with them in that encouraging and supporting role, so you can get some examples. A, you can see how you like it, and B, you can start to give some examples of how you've done it in practice, which is always the thing about making the next step.
Thanks very much, Jane. I'm just conscious of the time, and I'm wondering if we could go back to each of the panelists and just ask them for a 30-second summary to wrap up the session. So anything that they feel that they would like to say on this particular topic. If I could go back first of all to Emily.
Yes, I thank you very much for the opportunity to speak here today. Thank you, first of all, for that. And I guess my kind of summary really is just for, if you're a woman in tech, just to keep pushing forward. Don't give up. You definitely can do it. it might be a difficult road, but there's plenty of people here to support you. Look to your role models, and I think Jane mentioned a very good point about mentoring as well. So there's lots of people out there who've done it, and you know, if you look to them, I'm sure you can achieve it too.
Thanks very much, Emily. That's very encouraging words. Can we go across to Sonu as well?
Yes, sure. Thank you very much, Debbie, for the opportunity. So I do understand, like for many women, it would be like they're working twice as hard as male entrepreneurs to move needles in the industry. But I think they should just have confidence in themselves and believe that they can do it, and try to always create a supportive system around them, because as a mother of a young toddler, it's very important to have that support system around. So always go and seek as much help as you can, and don't really shy away from approaching people. And mentoring is a good way to learn from men on how to handle other men in the industry.
Thanks very much, Sonu. And across to Melissa.
Thank you so much, Debbie, again for having me on. I totally agree with Sonu. I think that it actually is part of sometimes our nature as women to just keep calm and carry on, and not to ask for help. And I think that was a mistake I made in a lot of my early years of my career. And I think there is so much help, whether it be online tutorials, mentors, other people, subcontractors, freelancers, all of these amazing free webinars that you can go to right now because of the COVID crisis, changing the way that we do information flow. And I would just encourage you to get as much help as you can, and to realize that asking for help is something to be proud of, nothing ever to be ashamed of.
Brilliant, thank you, Melissa. And then finally across to Jane again, please.
I just think be your authentic self, and I just want to echo what everyone has said about have that supportive network around you, needed at all times, but I think particularly through while we're working in this quite strange way at the moment. And self-development is important, but you don't have to change who you are to be successful in the workplace. Work out what your position is going to be and how you bring your strengths and yourself to the workplace in leadership in IT and digital.
Thank you very much. Well, I think that was incredibly comprehensive, and I'm really grateful to you all for giving up your time today. If I can make one last plea, that the Midlands Women in Tech Awards 2021, the nominations are now open, so please get voting for people. We are hoping to actually have a physical event, because we feel it is so important that we can all come together, because I think one of the things that we perhaps haven't mentioned, but often is the case, that many women in tech are working quite in isolation. So it was a great opportunity at the awards, and we were so pleased how it went, that we managed to bring so many important women in tech together. And indeed, that's how we encountered all of you ladies today, who've done a wonderful job, I think, of inspiring the next generation. So thank you very, very much again. Goodbye.
Thank you.